He's got thrycreen where you don't want thrycreen.
Oh,
No.
God.
I mean, that's kind of everywhere, right? Like on your body. As much
But
as
especially there.
I love thrycreen. Like I don't necessarily want to cuddle with one because,
Because it'll eat your face.
Yeah.
It sounds like the most popular breakfast cereal in Athens. Thrycreen, crunchy, all day.
So this is the Jaunty Mantis, a podcast of creative questions for curious gamers. I'm one of your hosts, Jesse. Hello.
I'm Matty.
And I'm Chris.
Hey guys, what have you been up to in the world of gaming?
I haven't done much playing, but I did character creation for my up and coming. I don't know. I still don't know what to call it. Vignettes, chapters. With busyness of life, I still want to run games, but I'm going to have to do it in a different way. I'm going to have a one shot ready to go and a 3 to 5 session vignette or chapter game or something like that. The story doesn't really matter. It's entirely up to the players. I'm not going to really work hard to make a story. We're going to throw them right into the action. And, we're just going to go through the adventure, whatever happens, and take it from there. So I decided to set the players up with like a good foundation to create their characters. Cause I know in my group, my players will have questions no matter what about the setting. Even if I was like, guys, the setting's completely up to you. I don't give a shit. They would be like, well, what about this? Well, how does this work in this setting? And I really appreciate that from them. So, I designed the setting initial concept after a joke that Jesse made on the Jaunty Mantis podcast
Never heard of it.
about how tieflings and Goliaths and Dragonborns seem like they were from a different game that were kind of tacked on with the Tolkien elements of fantasy, the elves, dwarves, hobbits, etc. So I was like, all right, let's do that. Let's do a D&D world where there are no elves or dwarves or halflings or dragons or orcs, and we'll take it from there. And I kind of ran into a few issues like, what do you call Dragonborn if there aren't any dragons? So I then started creating a resource document, and then I had a setting made, and there you go.
I read the resource document while lying in bed today.
You did? What did you think?
Well, it's something you wrote for a game. I always love those. So yeah, I thought it was great.
So
and I was like, I wonder if he's doing a bit based on that thing about how I said tieflings feel tacked on.
Yes,
I noticed the pattern. So
yeah, the Dragonborn, Chris, you'll appreciate this as a big 4E player, if I'm not mistaken. The Dragonborn in 4E are my favorite, visually looking version of the Dragonborn because they look like Muppets. They look like 6 foot tall, 300-pound Muppets. Like if you ever watch anything with Muppets in it and they have the big ones and there's obviously a person inside the suit, but they're moving very purposefully. They have a whole cadence about them. And that's how I just picture Dragonborn. So I modified the Dragonborn for this setting so that they were basically like giant Muppets. And I included in their description that when they're happy, they sing. When they're sad, they collapse into a chair. When they're angry, they stomp around and make noise. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Troll Hunter series on Netflix, Guillermo del Toro's production house animation. I highly recommend it. It's definitely very cartoony and for kids, but I highly recommend it. And the trolls in that, I added an element to the Dragonborn for this setting where they live in these secret pocket dimensions and you can only get to them by opening up with magical portal keys, because I figured for this setting it would be awesome that I could just start a game by saying, oh, and you see this purple outline appear on the wall all of a sudden. Everybody in the room starts looking at it, and then somebody says, oh shit, Dragonborn, and then everybody scatters as the portal opens and they come rushing out, and then the adventure happens. That's what I've been doing this week.
That's awesome.
cool. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed it. Very appropriate for tonight's topic, though. So, uh, Chris, what have you been up to?
Well, also apropos to the topic, we were going to roll traveler characters with my Sunday now brunch game, but player couldn't make it, and we just didn't want to get in on that. So I had bought the Goblings like
Oh,
2 years ago or more. It's
Yeah.
a slow quest creation. Gentleman I was following on social media, Bodie H. He has about 5 or 6 episodes of a podcast that has pod faded, but I recommend it. And it's loosely 5e. You could run it with any system, but the players took the pre-generated goblin options uh, with delightful art. So they have just emerged from a slime pool where there floats hundreds of gobbling eggs, and an adult goblin yells at them and tells them that they need to go gather information about what their queen likes, and then they'll be pushed off into the forest outside of the cave overnight to gather things to attempt to impress her. Little group project gift giving. And so they run around the warren trying to get information and gather things, and then they're kicked out into the forest to explore it. It's all very silly and just a little gross, but in a fun way.
Cool.
So the PCs were Paul Blart, Crunchwrap Supreme, and Social Security number were their chosen names. They just were born knowing their names.
that's awesome.
But they did have a lot of questions about the world. I mostly refused to answer them unless it was in character.
Yeah.
I love it. So what is the little bit of gross part? Can you give us an example?
Oh man, I mean the pit's pretty gross. The eternal stew pot, even though I do follow that one guy on Instagram, he's pretty great with his stew. But one of the treasures you can start with was like a soggy sandwich. Someone had like a damp sock. Just all kinds of fun stuff. I only have the forest treasure hanged out here, but all kinds of weird stuff. The social security number had a feat called Stinky, which gives you advantage to dealing with other goblins and goblings, but disadvantage on dealing with anybody else.
I like that cover picture. I've never seen a front view of Dick Butt before. So that's
they get less head forward as they age into adult goblins, in theory, so assuming they survive that long.
cool. Well, that's fun.
But the nose situation still
Yes.
stays pretty whack.
That's great. Jesse, what happened in your gaming week?
Well, Dragonlance imploded. We were down a player, and then somebody got sick with a stomach bug. So we just played a board game. And then last night for the Chaos Earth game, first time back after Thanksgiving break, I had a stomach bug and couldn't play because I've been lying in bed mostly for 2 days. So it's been fun. But this week on Thursday is Vampire. That's probably going to fall apart because it's December and that's what games do. But I will be prepping this week for Vampire, reviewing my notes and figuring out interesting ways to tweak the emotional knives the characters have selected to stab into their own chests for the good of the game and the story. And I really appreciate them for that.
Delightful.
They have their homework due, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I already
You'll have
got
to
it
catch
from
us
one
up.
player. Yeah, it was great.
Oh, do you want to give us a little Jaunty Mantis share?
It's not, it's an elder, it's a lady from the church. It's not her daughter. So she's veered off script, but this is a person she's going to have as one of her contacts. And I think she wanted to set somebody up where it's going to be way more gratifying when she finally rips her face off or something. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But it was a very engaging story. Yeah, I liked it. Lauren's a very talented writer. I'm really lucky that she does this like in character fiction that she shares with the group because it's hilarious. So yeah, that's kind of it for me.
I always love it when players bring like their special skills to the gaming table. It really does like enrich the overall experience. And like, yeah, like having writing talent and skill is an easy one to kind of apply to the gaming table. But if there's like a crafty person who like makes, props or objects or things we can use at the table, I love that shit. I'd love to do an episode where we talk about like the other kind of like unique special skills or talents that people can bring to a game. And so mark that one down.
Yeah, my favorite is the special talents of just showing up at the time we've agreed to play on. Like, and have played at that same time for literally a decade. Like, that would be really great if people could have that talent. So,
for sure.
But
that one is lost to the ages, Jesse.
Yeah, and just in case anyone who is in my game group is listening, I'm not trying to throw shade deliberately about this.
He's not trying.
This week's gaming session. Or is this somebody else had a stomach bug? I didn't see them, so I didn't get the stomach bug from them. And another person warned us well ahead of time they would not be able to make it. So I'm not calling you out. Yeah. Chris, you had a question. A creative question.
I did, and it's so appropriate to so much of what we shared. When a story can't make it, and when a player can't make it, and it really messes up the story, what you gonna do?
Sulk, mostly sulk.
My first note was, "Don't take it personnel, kid." It's hard not to, but
and I might pout a little.
My strategy, first of all, I
tossing my phone.
10 seconds to 5 minutes just feeling really disappointed and frustrated. And then as soon as I relax, my brain starts coming up with ways to handle the session without them. Ideally, I don't always come up with a great idea immediately, but it quickly becomes a challenge,
Well, one of the things I've found in my past gaming history is like the worst thing is when you get that self into the trap as the game mother of like having a player that's been a little inconsistent and you're like, I'm going to give them story beats so they're more engaged. And then you spend all this time prepping a story beat for that player. And then they're like, I can't come today.
Yeah. It's good to keep that stuff a lot like secrets and clues, kind of loose, but sometimes you just build up to a moment and then someone can't make it. But again, the first thing is I try and tell people, hey, totally understand, life comes first, whatever you got to do. I don't want anybody to feel stressed about this activity if I can help it. Only me. I'm the only one that should feel stressed.
Why would you lie to your friends about life coming first? I don't understand.
Not on the Jaunty Mantis.
Yeah. Game comes first.
Game before.
I almost signed in with a puke bucket yesterday, but I didn't.
Wow. Make it something in character.
That. Yeah.
Your character's sick too.
Yeah.
And you're role playing.
In that power armor, he's just puking. His feet are swimming in it. Yeah, that's really good advice. One thing too, just in the general advice that really helped that I've tried to remember, and this doesn't apply to every gaming group, but like with my groups here, Carrie one time when I was kind of being salty about a game cancellation, was like, Jesse, we're not a gaming group who are friends. We're a friend group who games. And I'm like, fair, that's true. But I just don't know how to be friends with people without Dungeons and Dragons. So,
right.
Well,
so the first option you can do, right, in this situation is just not play. But the point of the curious question is, what can we do that allows us to play games? Ideally the same game, but maybe another game.
I'm going to throw something controversial out there. I hope it doesn't get me kicked off the show. What if you just did the story beat for their character and they weren't there, and it was for the benefit of everybody else who did show up? That way you've taken care of the problem, and the person missed, and if they get upset about it, that they missed their story moment, it's like, them's the breaks. What do you think about that?
Delightful. That's delightful and devilish. Something, a rock falls on their head or they get pushed into a portal.
Yeah,
whatever excuse.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever had a player upset that they missed their story beat.
Have they ever missed a story beat
in a game? Yeah, I mean we've had stuff come up because I tend to be pretty unreasonable. I'm aware I am unreasonable. I'm just really paranoid about this one because I'm like too ill to like have a filter, and so I'm just like going straight. And like, I know Jordan listens to the podcast. Jordan, I'm sorry. I'm not. Anyway, yeah, I tend to be like, we're going to run if we have 3 people. As long as there's 3 people that are not me at this table, we're going to go full ahead and then story beat. But I also too, I think one of the downsides of that is I kind of stopped for the games that I run with some of my groups, like really looking for creating a story beat. And it's fine. We still have fun and story beats emerge from what happens in play. But I stopped, it made me slow down my prep so I didn't feel like a chump, for having sunk all this time into prep. I don't know why my brain won't let me be like, you can still use that same prep next week. Like,
I'm really picturing it as the secrets and clues from Lazy DM, like those story beats. And one of those steps, I think we talked about it in a previous recording, but reviewing the player characters, So, and those items could also be secrets and clues or treasures or whatever, but you don't necessarily have to stick them in a particular place or time. But I guess with this question, I am imagining a scenario where, well, we spent the last session building up to your long lost dad, who might also be the BBEG, walking in the room, and we know there's going to be a heartfelt moment. And if you're not there, short of the very funny, whoops, you got knocked out or something and you missed the encounter. Right. We had to save you from him. It was crazy. He walked in and brain bolted you immediately. It's the new spell I just invented. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, you could take it one of 2 ways. You can either move ahead as planned. You can stop everything in its tracks. But how many times are you going to stop things in their tracks? Right. You know what I mean? Like, what's your allowance for that, I guess, is my next question. How many times do you allow for this to happen? Because to Jesse's earlier point, it is a friends group who plays. But when you think about any other social structure that involves a set of activities, it really only works if on the basis that everybody is going to show up and be present to do it, And I think if the person keeps doing this, right, if you can hold off game for one time, but then how many more times are you going to do that for that person? And then how many times does every person get? And then what happens if you don't end up playing for a couple of weeks? Like, I would much rather just speed forward. Yep, it was the big story moment for your character. There's nothing else we could do about it. Like, everything else seems like it's way more work to try to work around this one particular problem. It sucks. I'm sorry, but we just went ahead and did it anyway. I mean, but maybe I'm an asshole.
I don't know. Conversely, though, I can't really think of a whole lot of other social activities that require everybody to show up at the same time on a regular kind of schedule and needs everyone to be there. Team.
Thank you. I was going to say that, but thank you, Chris.
Again, as I was astounded to learn that exists, not a thing I've ever done. I mean, it's just like, we insert the joke about the final boss being scheduling here. It's just one of those things that, like, I would never want it to be punitive, but if you have players who have a lot of complications in their lives, right? I'm like, I want to phrase it too. I'm try to be a good person and look at this from a point of empathy. Other people have a lot of shit going on in their lives, and other people don't put D&D as the god tier importance just below the safety and well-being of their children like I do. That's fine. So I never would want it to be punitive, but I think one of the things, if I've identified a player that frequently has a situation where they can't come, I just don't write story for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done that. In the 1 to 20 game, we have a player who's a regular part of our group, and he has to miss a lot. And I threw something into that game specifically for him to work on outside of game. I guess I can say it now, but like, the whole idea is he was playing a wizard. It's our friend Aaron. I have no problem with him missing games. I'm not super serious about it. But I was like, hey,
also like really communicative about
it. Like, right. He was very upfront about it, and we were all like totally fine. So I threw something into the 1 to 20 game for the group and him to find that would be like a magical workshop that I don't know why I'm obsessed with pocket dimensions, but it was in a pocket dimension. And that way he could kind of just disappear into it and fiddle around with stuff that would come up in the story later. And I would just send him messages over Discord. I mean, is that something that you can do with a player who misses? Can you kind of work around it and then give them a little bit of homework over Discord or through a text, and then have it kind of influence the way the game works out later? Like, what do you think, Chris?
Well, my Sunday night crew for our long D&D campaign was in the Iron City of Dis, the second level of the Nine Hells. We were having, just people taking turns missing. So they met these iron spiders in Despater's Tower. And one of the players may have accidentally joined the Iron Spider Union. But then anytime somebody couldn't make it, somebody would get a flash of an iron spider running up their leg. And then the next thing you know, the person would be shrunk down into a tiny iron figure. And I just hold up their mini at that point and be like, somebody better put it in their pocket, or God only knows what. Nobody really spoke spider. They just like kind of tap with their pedipalps and their feet. And one of the players like rolled pretty good on animal handling and probably signed a contract in hell. But it was a good method. But I got to tell you guys, the best thing about being on the podcast now is that when I'm in real time listening to the conversation kind of diverge from my initial question, I can help steer it. So I just want to say, we love our friends and we all understand that people aren't going to make it and we're not going to be mad and we're just going to roll with it. But when you can't really continue the scene that would naturally happen next, I love Matty's idea of we play it anyways. And I would want to make it compelling, right? They miss something cool that's going to have to resolve later, right? That could just be a setup for more good. But outside of that, let's say we're not playing that next session and we're not necessarily worried about problem players. What I have several ideas, of course, or I wouldn't have suggested the question probably. Can I come up with a question so good I don't have any ideas to answer it?
Well, let's hear them.
Well, for instance, you could play the Goblings.
Okay, so play a different game.
Keep some light RPGs handy. Read the adventure once and just keep it on the shelf. And something like this, I read the first chapter, skimmed it even while I was preparing my brunch contribution. And we were off to the races. I didn't probably missed a couple little things in there that could have been funnier, or more interesting if I had.
But Chris, then I would have to buy more RPG books than Dungeons and Dragons, and I don't know that I'm ready.
Jesse doesn't own enough books for that. I'm sorry
to do that.
But I mean, do you guys have, Jesse? What would be your go-to if you had to run swerve at the last minute because you're missing a player and you just can't do that next scene?
I would probably do. I'd probably do like Shadow Dark or Old School Essentials, something where it takes like almost no time to make a character. Everyone's got basic familiarity, and we'd be like, we actually did. I had found a copy of the Into the Unknown, I think, which is like a classic old TSR basic Dungeons and Dragons adventure module. No, that's not the right one. There's one where you get hired. This guy's inherited a castle, and they get hired to go clear it out, basically. And I had to make, I think Louisa had gotten like a blue book basic Dungeons and Dragons, like the old one. And I had them roll up characters out of that, and we just played that. And it was fun. It was a silly little
Was
one
that
shot.
just the single session?
Yeah, it was a single session. I think we might have come back to him once. But yeah, it's pretty similar to what we would need to do for Open Table. Something that you either have characters prepped, or that PCs can make, or players can make a player character in a very, very short period of time. And to me, that means go with like OSR adjacent or OSR-esque games.
Matt, if you had to grab something, what would you do to run?
I would be super tempted to still try to tie it in to the ongoing storyline of the game. So I would grab a copy of Trophy Dark and I would run a Death Spiral game. And I would be ready to do this in a sense of having a little bit of like at least background prep in my head of being like, this is going to be part of the origin story of the next villain of the next story arc that we're going to do after we do this one in the regular game that we're running. So the death spiral will be the thing that they'll make these characters participate in that, and then those elements will come back up later after everybody's laughed and forgotten about them. And so I'll be able to I'll make notes and I'll plant these details in a future session, and it'll end up being the villain or some sort of part of a future game so that none of the animal is wasted, so to speak.
I love that.
Every skin, hide, and sinew. Yeah. My other one was going to be, there was a session, I forget, this was years ago where I read about this, but there was like an opening game technique where you give the characters like guards or like basically guard PCs, and then you have them like run through a little adventure where they run into a major villain who decimates them, and then they make their characters and come in hating that guy that just killed them. I wondered if you could turn that on its head and just have like take a group of monsters from like a previous, you'd have to prep this and have it ready, like queued up, but I think it might be worth it. Take a group of monsters from a previous session where the PCs just wiped the floor with them, make a little character sheet for that monster, and then like have them start their day on the events that led up to them getting totally massacred by the party.
That's awesome.
So like then, they get to the last room, they open the door or whatever, and like, you recognize this room. 4 adventurers coming. What?
I like that. What if you were to plan for another group? Let's say you're playing D&D 5th edition because that's the world's most popular role-playing game. What if you had a side group of characters that are also played by the same player characters, and they are going on adventures that are happening in the background, and then you can have the two groups meet and you're playing the characters that they created and they get into like a big heist fight or something like that? What if you did something like that?
That would be awesome.
I think if I had time to prep for that, I would enjoy it, but that sounds like prepping for 2 campaigns at once.
We had a player miss at a critical time in the long-running D&D campaign, and they had, I must have mentioned this when you interviewed me on that, Behind the RPG episode, whatever you're calling those.
Oh, my oral histories of tabletop role-playing game.
They had just kind of failed to figure out what the Thayan necromancer or wizard aboard a ship they were on was transporting, what his mission was. They snooped and then they stopped at the last minute, for some reason I didn't just reveal it or make them fall over it, but I ended with a giant undead kraken god tearing down a wizard's enclave near Westgate at their destination. They witnessed it. They got one of the wizards that they were going to visit at that enclave to help them drive off the necromancer that was compelling this beast. And but that entity revived for the first time in millennia, went right into the sea of fallen stars to resume its ancient grudges and wars against basically everybody on the surface, And so
surface people do suck.
I had hinted, they always pollute and stuff, but I'd been hinting at it, what was going on in the Sea of Fallen Stars, because it was like a big deal. It's a whole undersea kingdom. It's pretty rough down there, and it's having effects on the trade across this big inland sea, But eventually I was like, you know what? We should check in. And it was because someone didn't know what a merkin is.
What is a merkin? I'm one of those
I'll tell
people.
you when you're older.
Okay.
It's a type of hairpiece.
Yes. For a time when lice was a big problem. So one would shave certain regions, but then in one's trade, those regions were relevant. But I did think merkin, like a mer person. And so I had them all come up with their merkin. We had like an otter guy. We had Shark Boy, which I don't think he was sharky at all. It was pretty great. I basically like use baseline, whatever they call it, Tritons or something stats. Not Triton. There's a more mermaidish species in D&D. And then, just put them, actually made them revenants. Their little undersea village had just been destroyed by the Kraken God's armies. And they were compelled to track it down and kill it and could not truly be destroyed until they did. So we had a very fun session doing that. They made some great goobers and went on an adventure, freed the living people from their village who were like super weirded out by their undeadness. And then we didn't touch in with those merkin for another 2 or 3 years in the campaign. And finally, someone's missing. All right, we're making merkin. You missed merkin. We got your merkin are still around, And they had been on the hunt in game for months and months to try and do anything about this Kraken God. So they went down into the deep vents and found some Triton secret weapon. And then later on, in the background of the main party, facing off against this Kraken on top of this pinnacle rock that juts out of the sea, their merkin are in the background helping them out with this magical cannon shot.
I love it.
It was very fun.
Yeah, I think that's the secret, like, because you can either plan for these absences but like the temptation there is to wind up planning for a whole other campaign with a whole set of other characters. And I think if I think we all know as game mothers how that can derail our campaign because we start to like the other one we did more,
right.
So I think that's really a really good thought, that you really just need a stat block to give somebody, like, hey, give me a silly name for this thing. Here's it. Let's go. And then you can kind of just run with it. You can either come up with a couple secrets and sketch out a little plot yourself, or you can look at the vast resources of adventures available and just skin it for whatever you're doing in that situation.
Yeah.
It's a great solution, Chris.
What if you took it as an opportunity to explore the other characters' personality and story through role play? We had like a deck of 3 Dragon Ante back in the day. It's a card game played in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. What if you played 3 Dragon Ante and you had to play in character?
Oh man.
And you would give them bonus XP. The way I would do it is everybody's getting bonus XP. And so what you tell people is like, hey, you stay in character, and when we reach some cool like aha or that's awesome moments, like I'll be writing down bonus XP. And so you just have a default total you're going to give everybody, and then you give Jesse like 50 points more because he's awesome. So what if you did that? What do you guys think?
I really like that idea.
Because you get 50 more. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a beach episode or a bottle episode,
Yes.
A flashback. I really like that just for role-playing purposes. I do milestone when I'm leveling people at all, vibes based. But most of my players, you give them 2 seconds to start goofing off in character with each other, and they go to town,
I love it.
It's just delightful to sit there and watch. You just got to throw them a great beach scene or lock them in a walk-in freezer or something, right?
Right. Yeah. I would love to try to do this as a surprise for, our group listens to this podcast, so I guess it won't be a surprise, but I would love to just start a night of gaming where we do that. You know what I mean? Like everyone thinks we're jumping into the next leg of the adventure, but no, we're all playing cards in character. And I'd love to see how that works out.
Decompression before or after major events too. Let people chill out and reconnect PC wise.
There is a style of play that you can really only level up if you engage in role play and story exploration. I forget what it's called and I forget where I heard it from, but like there is that style of play. Like you could throw that in regularly, whether somebody's missing or not, just have it in your back pocket. Mm-hmm. Everybody's around camp. It's like, oh, Sarah didn't show up this time. No problem. We're all back at camp earlier in the day before you guys got started going into the dungeon. And over breakfast, this comes up. What do you guys say? And just, it's a flashback. It doesn't have to be like super complicated. You don't have to bring out a whole extra game. You could just put something you could have something waiting in case this happens, and then just flashback instead of not playing the game you set out to play altogether.
Yeah, when I really like this. I feel like that's on to something. Technical issues with our Sunday night group because we're online, but
Yeah.
But it can be done. Like in roll 20, you can play cards, you
Mhm.
know. So there has to be some other, way that you can make use of it.
I
And it
think
could be you media res them into a fight that missing player missed, you know,
Hmm.
but make it something weird or compelling, or have them instantiate some characters or some events that other player character missed out on.
Hmm.
And then maybe it'll get referenced later and they'll be like, oh, it'll be a fun opportunity for them to extemporize on the subject. What were you going to say, Jesse? I'm sorry.
I forgot.
Well, I'll give you time to remember, Chris. I know Jesse's a fan of Community. How do you feel about the show? Are you a fan of it? Are you familiar with it?
I've watched it through twice, but it's been a long time.
So you remember the episode that's devoted to them like flashing back to these things that we never saw, and it's just
Yes.
like these moments. What I think would be kind of funny. I don't have no idea if this would work. Is if you make that the role playing exercise.
Mhm.
So and you don't tell the person who missed. So the
Yeah.
person who's missing thinks game went as normal, and then you said, "Hey guys, for this session, like," and you just start throwing these random things at them, and then they have to interact with them as if they are flashbacks or they did happen, and then you swear everybody to secrecy, so when the person comes back and it's like, what happened, and they just like everybody talks about it as if it was that episode of Community, where it's like, oh, and then we fell in the cave and then this happened and it
Yeah.
was like we didn't know how we're going to get out and then we're on a submarine, and it's just like just totally fuck with the person who missed.
That'd be fun to have like two player, like, all right, you two had a vignette. So, because it's really easy to imagine a time when two party members were off shopping or,
Hmm.
looking for water down by the river and you ran into something interesting. What was it? Or how'd you handle it when that bear popped out of the woods and, ran off the deer you were about to fire an arrow at?
Yeah, totally. There are those background moments. I wonder if you could bring them to the forefront as a part of the game for when people miss. Like you're foraging for food, like you're saying, or looking for water, like you're saying, or even something even a little bit more complex. What could be cool, and again, this requires more prep, so forgive me, but like you could design these little moments and for the player characters to have either individually or in small groups like you're describing that come into play later and you don't tell them when they come into play. So they had to solve a puzzle. So like let's say you're like, okay, the two of you are now walking down this part of the tower. You go into the room, there's and then you tell them about the puzzle in front of you and you're like, just solve the puzzle. Let go. You guys are on. Like don't explain anything. And then you keep that
Yeah.
and put it in a later game, right? Like we're
Anything you say
describing,
can and will be held against you and the rest of the party at a future time.
you know? So it's like you'll have this moment where the player characters are trying to get through this, door or whatever, and nothing's working. And then you're like, well, these two characters go off on their own, and then the door opens, right? Like, I don't know. It's just off the top of my head. Maybe it's absolute codswallop.
Now that's a word I've not heard in a long time. I mean, I think too, to just get back to the issue is like, I mean, you can have prepared solutions. Um, a lot of times I feel like when you're going to miss a player, it's not really going to blow your story up. But when it does, like I think the advice we're all sort of circling around is like have something ready for when that
Hmm.
happens because it's inevitable.
Even
Um,
if it's just a small bullet point list of options, it doesn't have
yeah,
to be super elaborate.
I'm really curious with the, I might be misconstruing it, but I'm really curious as like a design exercise about how you could make the flashbacks be something that stretches for 2 to 3 hours of playtime if you're going to do like a whole session of these crazy flashbacks. Or were you
Throw a
talking about
locked
just
door in
like
there.
you tell everybody, hey, this is what we're going to do next time when we start, and then they just go? That makes a lot more sense actually now that I'm saying that part out loud.
Yeah. We're going to do a flashback session, guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Speaking of
Fun and
community.
easy.
Well, I think then we might have hit the end of our topic for tonight. And yeah, this has been the Jaunty Mantis. If you liked what you heard, we are on some social media. We're Jaunty Mantis on Blue Sky. We're also Jaunty Mantis on Threads and Instagram. And if you have a creative question you'd like to send us, go ahead and reach out, jauntymantis@gmail.com, or in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, or at any of the social media that I just mentioned before. We'd love to hear from you.
Definitely.
So until next time, keep playing those fucking role-playing games.
That's right.
Even
Get
if
out
your
there.
friends don't show up.
Hell yeah.
That's what solo journaling games are for. You don't even need friends anymore.
Is that like masturbation then?
Depends
Nothing
on
wrong with that.
how lurid your writing style is. Definitely can't forget to check the Not For Kids on this one.